Thank you all very much for being in attendance this afternoon. I know it's 6:30, but the sun's out, so it still feels like this afternoon. Thank you all very, very much for being with us. A school board meeting of Bartholomew Consolidated School Corporation. We always start our meetings with the opportunity for one of our colleagues to offer reflections, and this evening it is Mr. Persinger, so I'll turn to him.
My reflections this week are going to be a little brief, just getting over some bronchitis, but I wanted to share part of a conversation that I had the other day with my youngest daughter. She asked me when I was a kid what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I chuckled a little bit when I told her that I wanted to be a drummer in a rock band. She asked then, well, why didn't you? And to keep my response brief and simple in terms that a 6-year-old could relate to, I just said because I wasn't good enough to be a professional. But the truth is that's a pretty sidestepped excuse. If I would have put in practice and the dedication that it would have taken, who knows? But maybe it could have happened. So I asked her, well, what about you? What do you want to be when you grow up? She said she wants to be a heart doctor. And granted, that's a far more realistic goal than mine. I told her, if you're willing to work hard, try your best, never give up, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it, you can do anything you want. And then she looked at me and said, well, then in that case, I want to be a princess. I figured, if Meghan Markle could do it, it's not outside the realm of possibility. Exactly. So, but my main point is that, we all have the ability to achieve whatever goals we set for ourselves. We just have to have the guts and the drive to go after them. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Central Middle School is very fortunate to have a young man, Karthik Varaganda, that was this year's state National Geographic Geography champion. And I've been at Central now for 35 years, and I don't believe we've ever had a state champion. So I'd like to introduce you to Karthik. And later in this year in May, he gets to go to Washington, D.C. and participate in the national competition. He'll be there for 3 nights and 4 days.
Awesome.
They pay for the hotel. They even pay for a couple airplane tickets, but I think his whole family's going to be going and joining him. So we're very proud of him at Central Middle School and wouldn't be surprised if he wins more money.
Wonderful.
Good evening. I'm Laura Daly, Department Coordinator of the Business Programs at Columbus North High School. And so thank you for this opportunity to recognize Fatima Arroyo. During her educational career at North High School, she's taken 12 semesters of business classes, ranging from Introduction to Business to Advanced Accounting, and she's maintained an A average in all those courses. She's also served as a student ambassador, attending our 8th grade parent night and open house, where she met with prospective students and parents to kind of help promote our classes. And she's just been a great asset to our program. But we're really proud to recognize her this evening. In her Principles of Business Management course, she prepared a business plan and featuring a business that she called Euphoria's Nature, focusing on a full-service spa that features natural products to help clients who battle skin disorders and achieve healthy skin. She presented her plan as part of Maverick Challenge business planning competition and placed second, earning a cash prize of $1,000 used to seed her future endeavors. So I'm honored and proud to introduce her to you this evening for this recognition. Fatima Arroyo.
I'm Bob Hartman. I am the C4 business teacher, and I'm here today to introduce Avery Spencer. Come on up, Avery. Avery is a CSA New Tech student, but he also travels. My understanding, you hit all 3 schools, right? North, CSA, and East?
New Tech.
Okay. So he comes back and forth, and he's in my Principles of Business Management, and he did the Maverick Challenge as well. His project was ADA tax service, and so it was a service kind of like Uber, but run by high school students, for high school students. So he kind of came up with that. Actually, I give Avery a lot of credit because the ADA was the initials of the 3 gentlemen that were starting the project. He lost his 2 other venture capitalists. They had to leave the room evidently, and so he was by himself at that point in time. And he did a great job on his business plan and doing some research, and did a fine job of presentation-wise.
My pleasure this evening to introduce Karin Aiding. Karin is the recipient of the Edna Folger Award, which is sponsored annually by the Columbus Chamber of Commerce, and it's available to any teacher, public, private, or parochial in Bartholomew County. I want to share a little bit about Karin. This is based on what was submitted for her. So her career spans 42 years. She's part of C4, which is the Columbus Area Career Connection. She is the sponsor of a student organization that's one of the largest of its kind in the state of Indiana. This organization is focused on leadership development and community service. In the community, she supports 4-H, and she's taught a sewing camp for 15 years. She's active in her local church and serves as a Christian education leader. In the true spirit of servant leadership, one colleague noted, she's a true inspiration and encourages others to reach their greatest potential. Quite simply, she builds people. So congratulations, Karin Aiding.
Just to add, Dr. Shedd, before we move on, having the opportunity to have a table at the Chamber of Commerce annual meeting last week, it's always interesting. We look forward to seeing who's going to get the Edna Folger Award, believing it should be a BCSC teacher. So congratulations, Karin, and to our students when they go through the Maverick Challenge Awards. Again, we're believing our kids should be the ones winning those awards. So congratulations to our 2 students who won Maverick Challenge Award last week as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for that. As is our practice, the first time we have a meeting in a building of a month, we ask for a best practice presentation from that school. So I will turn to Mr. Clark.
Thank you. We appreciate this opportunity. Let me start with our slide I think we're supposed to do. So we start in the upper left-hand corner, a little bit about Columbus North High School. We are, as many of you know, celebrating our 150th birthday this year. And as part of that, we've had celebrations throughout the year, but on April 17th, each student and staff member will get a cookie supplied by our alumni board, and staff might even get some cake if they're good. We might even get a cake for them. But we're going to continue to celebrate that throughout this year. As you know, our colors are royal blue and white. We have many outstanding programs. Performing Arts just did a great play this past weekend, detailing a pretty sensitive subject, and did an excellent job with that. This year we have 36 different languages spoken in our building. We've got 37 state team championships over the years. Our foundation, all along the bottom there you'll see our instructional framework. We've included a lot of things, I think. Starting on the far left lower, we've got our growth mindset, our habits of mind, the foundation there being UDL. And now we're beginning to incorporate some of our social and emotional learning components into our Columbus North instructional frameworks. As you work back around, PBIS is an essential part of our building and the things we do here in our culture. And then finally, we like to celebrate our academic successes. You saw some of that this evening.
Updates, currently what we're looking at for 2018 and 19, we're looking at a new online menu program. Currently, we, with assistance from IT, put up our own cycle menu, but we're looking to something called NutriSlice, which has not only pictures of the food, you can click on that picture then, and it also gives you detailed allergen information, detailed nutrition information. Parents and students can order their meals ahead online if they would like, which will go directly to the schools. So we see a lot of benefit in that. So we're looking into that this month. We received a very generous donation from Healthy Communities. This will allow us to purchase 2 reimbursable meal vending machines for the 2 high schools. We're hoping it'll capture some of the students that still want to eat off-site but would like to use their account to buy a meal and head off-site. Or if you're after hours with an education program or with a sports program, want to get a healthier meal, you can pick that up. It goes with your account. There's no money going in exchange with this program. It's directly linked to the students' lunch accounts. This is a price comparison of BCSC meals compared to surrounding counties and some others similar in size to us. You can see we're pretty comparable to them in their pricing. The Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act does call for equity in school lunch pricing, and schools are federally mandated to raise the price of lunches if they're charging less than the national average, which is determined yearly. Normally, I would have another slide that would tell you what the national average is, but when we had a shutdown in the government, my program is federally funded, and so that affected us as well. So we're all a little slower in getting some of our information out to us. So that has not been released yet, but I can say it usually goes up 10 cents a year. And in this slide, it'll show you we haven't had a price increase since 2017. We were eligible for a waiver last year. That was only a one-year labor, and they have not allowed us to do that this year. So if we are recommending to stay up with the federal guideline, an increase of 10 cents for the lunches, that will still put us behind the national guideline because in 2017 it was about $2.90. So if you figure it's probably about $3.10 at this point, but we'll find out when the details come out with that.
Since the last board meeting, we've seen several of the following. At the school board strategic meeting that was held on March 8th, the block schedule proposal was discussed at length by board members and administration. It was decided at that point that the board needed more time than a month to digest and process all the information regarding such a change in the schedule. Also, Mr. Clark and the guiding team began working on a frequently asked question document. Mr. Clark had another open meeting with members of the Columbus Educators Association. Mr. Clark met with one parent who requested a meeting regarding the proposed schedule. And Mr. Newell of East High School has met with an East student who is having a petition drive against the proposed schedule change. Mr. Newell has also had several meetings open to East faculty to further discuss the proposed schedule. That kind of brings us to tonight's meeting. Since you got an opportunity to hear from Mr. Clark and Mr. Edwards at the last meeting, Dr. Van Horn and Mr. Newell would like to add a few points of their perspective of the alternative schedule proposal.
Thanks, Bill. I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity to talk about block scheduling at East. A few things that I like about the block include how a student will have at most 4 classes and 1 day to focus on. That was a common theme we heard from students on the visits that we took. The teachers spoke about how they had more time to settle into the lesson and to check for understanding. Our UDL principals will serve us well with developing lessons to engage and support our students. I had a senior at East share with me that she came from block her freshman year. She said she liked the extra time to make sure she had all her questions answered before she left the class. I also like how the block provides a platform for us to address the social emotional learning via advisory and the longer class time. I share with our staff I will facilitate an advisory as well if we did move to a block. Relationships are such a powerful motivator, and we're learning more and more about the importance of social emotional learning, including the fact that the State Department of Education created its own division to focus on social emotional learning. As Mr. Jensen will tell you, we need to meet a student's Maslow needs before we can teach Bloom's taxonomy. I told our staff there's no perfect schedule, but the block 8 is what has been identified as the best one for our students. The key point is the schedule is best for our students. We have an outstanding staff, several of them here today, that consistently go above and beyond to meet the needs of individual students. It's in the East DNA and the culture to do what is best for all students, and this is no different. Change brings on its own set of challenges, but we have a dedicated group of people who are willing to step up to meet that challenge in order to help as many students as possible. Of that, I have no doubt. Again, thank you for the opportunity to talk about block scheduling.
I have no notes, so I'm just going to ramble at you for the next 15 minutes. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Paffenberger, hiding in the back, for representing special education on the committee. Having a teacher who works with high school students that have emotional and behavior issues, I think was a really smart addition because I agree with Fumi. They will let you know if your class is boring. One of the questions that's come up is, how can kids with disabilities sit for 80-some minutes? They can't. Let me ask you a question. How can kids without disabilities sit for 80-some minutes? They can't. How can adults sit for 80-some minutes? They can't. Okay? If that's what happens, the time is irrelevant because kids with disabilities, without disabilities, adults can't sit for 45 minutes. Okay? That gets boring. And I think if the teachers behind me would probably agree that if they just all stood up there and spewed forth for 45 minutes, that's not good teaching, that's not good instruction, that's not what we're trying to do. So we're focused on the principles and guidelines of UDL, looking at that longer period of time, having more engaging or more opportunities to have some engaging activities okay, more so than you can get done in 45 minutes. So it's not about the length of time, it is about what happens in that time frame. As you know, our teacher success rubric focuses on 50% of a teacher's evaluation is based on the principles of UDL and the guidelines. That's going to be the backbone for the success. So it's not whether it's 45 minutes, 90 minutes, an hour, or 10 minutes, it's what the quality of the instruction is. And I think if you come out and visit our schools, you'll see that we have great teachers who do a really good job of engaging our kids.
Hey, so our next board meeting will be here again on April 22nd at 6:30. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.